Do you think that capitalism is starting to lose its way? Well, that's what a lot of people are saying. So that's why on December 4th, 2025, I'm hosting a live episode of Unpolished MBA with author Douglas Stevens. He wrote a book about this. It's called In Search of a Moral Foundation for Capitalism. So together, we're going to unpack what a moral compass is and what does modern capitalism actually look like. You can join the live audience and add your voice to the discussion. Just go to unpolishedmba.com/live. Unpolishedmba.com/live. Welcome back to the Unpolished MBA. I'm your host, Monique Mills. And as you all know, I love to connect with and speak with smart and interesting people. That's the whole reason for this podcast. And those that are in business that can give us some inspiration and some knowledge on our journey and their journey as well. So my guest today is actually someone who has been there, done that. Andy Goldstrom, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Monique. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So Andy, I know that you're the managing partner of Mid-Course Advisors, and you help folks with professional service firms like law firms, for example, scale and all that. But you've built and sold two Inc. 5,000 companies to Fortune 50 buyers. I want to know, just curiously, what did those businesses do that you sold?
The first business I was an owner in was a real estate services firm. It was a commercial real estate services firm. We changed the industry in the 90s in that commercial real estate was mostly brokerage run, transactionally oriented. You'd make deals on the golf course. And we looked at real estate for corporations as an asset and something that if you integrated the services, you could reduce cycle times and cost and look at it as an asset from a portfolio basis. So companies with hundreds of properties, and we sold to the CFO, and that changed the industry for corporate services. Most of the biggest real estate firms in the world now have corporate services teams where they put people on site at their clients and have integrated services, and we were the first to do it. And so our firm took off. We became an Inc. 500 company at the time. It was before there was even 5,000.
Wow.
And we sold to Johnson Controls. And I was part of the management team there for 3 years. Great complementary acquisition. The only difference was we were a $80 million a year, 250 person firm being acquired by a $50 billion a year, 100,000 person firm. And so they were Midwestern. So they were slower, they were more conservative, and we were faster and more entrepreneurial. And so I had won two of the largest accounts the first year after the acquisition. And it took me 60 days to get a one-page offer letter out to people that we wanted to add to our team. And it just wasn't good enough. And after my golden handcuff came off, I got recruited to be the president of a waste recycling firm, a national waste recycling firm. And I took over for the founder who had taken it about as far as he could. And he needed the leadership team rebuilt. He needed the value proposition enhanced. They needed new office space because they were basically working out of a basement, even though they had a decent sized team. And over 3 years, that grew quite rapidly too, became an Inc. 500 company as well. And Waste Management bought that company in 2011. So we had some good clients in the real estate space, and they felt they could either try and beat us or buy us, and they couldn't beat us in that one aspect of space. They were much bigger than we were. Their business model was a little different, but they decided to acquire us, and we were partially owned by private equity. They wanted to get their money back on their investment too, and so we sold at a high point. I worked for an investment bank for 6 years, and then I opened up Mid-Course Advisors at the end of 2016.
Investment banking is quite interesting. Did you have a focus? What was your focus there?
Process improvement.
Okay.
So I had teams in New York, London, Frankfurt, and Singapore that I was working with, and I was on a plane all the time. And it was about certain process improvements in terms of their execution with 70,000 employees, 3,000 locations in 70 countries. A little bit of a process enhancement
Yeah.
makes a big difference. And I was so proud and happy to have that global experience because I didn't have that before. That's one of the reasons I did that.
Yeah, for sure. You've still been involved in building and exiting two fast growth companies. That's something most people only dream of, being a part of that team. So, from your experience,
That's
what?
true.
Yeah, I don't want to glaze over that, you
Well,
know?
I've also helped companies grow and exit. So I've experienced that too. When I started my mid-course, lawyers seemed to fit well into that demographic, and they smart people, educated, have a great trade and ability to help people, but they haven't been to business school or really
Yep.
owned or run businesses before. And so when it comes to elements, I take a high level view. I look at all the different parts of their business: marketing, sales, operations, their people, their systems, their finances.
Mhm.
Law firms happen to be a good part of my business, but I work with other professional services firms too. Because of my real estate background, I have some real estate clients. I have some clients in the technology sector because I've been involved in Techstars and things like that you've been involved with and taught entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I even have a client that owns a dog boarding business because they love dogs, but they don't know how to manage their growth. And they have multiple locations and a lot of complications, and I've helped them grow.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
If you're leading a manufacturing business between $20 million to $200 million in revenue, listen up. Source to Scale, powered by TPM Focus, helps manufacturing companies like you find the cash hiding in their own operations. We'll dig into your supply chain and procurement strategy to identify cash flow opportunities fast. This isn't about cutting people or slashing budgets, it's about unlocking what's already there. Want to free up capital to stabilize and fuel innovation? Visit tpmfocus.com/source to scale and let's talk. Source to Scale, because cash is oxygen and you need room to breathe.
What would you say surprised you most about what it actually takes to scale? Some people think they know, but you've seen it many times. What does it actually take to scale? What surprised you most about that?
Yeah. The first thing I like to do when people mention the word scale to me is I don't even know if people all know what the word
The
scale means.
meaning, yes.
And it means frankly, it doesn't mean growing.
It doesn't mean growth. That's right.
It means growing faster than your resources that are consumed. So scaling is actually having the same amount of resources and getting more output. I've worked with some clients who grow their revenue but don't take any more money home.
Yep.
And to me, the key to scaling, which is again, doing more with the same, not doing more with less. And it might be doing more with more, but it's doing a lot more with just a little more, is frankly, is having focus. Your company is called TPM Focus. There's a reason there's focus in the word is
Yep.
people, a lot of my clients don't know which direction to take. They want to expand and grow their top line. They want to charge more. They want to spend all kinds of dollars on different kinds of marketing programs. They want to add more services, and they don't realize that they've got holes in their current bucket, which need to be patched and fixed. And then they need proper guidance in terms of how to expand. And when you and I have been working with small firms that are just starting out, there have been studies that have been done. When companies are 1 to 3 people or so, everybody knows everybody, everybody knows what's going on at all times, and the communication channels are pretty easy because you're always communicating. But when you grow from 3 people to 8 people, and then 8 people to 50 people, and then beyond that, certain delegation and communication and processes and trust and KPIs need to be put in place so that you can feel comfortable with the work that's being done that allows you to scale.
So there's a myth that growth solves problems, but often it just magnifies them. In your work, what are some of the first cracks like you typically see in a company that's scaling too fast or without structure?
When I'm working with companies like that, they typically don't have the systems in place to support the growth. If they're great at sales, and not everybody is, but if they're great at sales and bring in a lot of business, they have to hire more talent, but they don't know how to pick the right talent. They don't know how to incentivize them right. They don't know how to onboard them. They don't know how to develop them. And so they tend to have a lot of turnover. And the companies that I worked with and ran had less than 2% turnover because I realized early on I was in the professional services business. So I was only good as I could only grow as much as my team. And if I had constant revolving door, it was going to be very hard. And I always viewed my team as the tip of the sword. They were the ones who were trained to understand what the client was really seeing and needing and asking the right questions and bringing up the opportunities for us because I wasn't there every day to be able to do that. They were working directly with the clients on a day-to-day basis, and I wasn't. The easiest way to delegate is if you know that the people that you're delegating to have a process by which, they can do quality work and therefore meet their KPIs. And the things I work on most are the people and the process.
And service-based business is tricky with especially folks that aren't business people. So you mentioned lawyers earlier because they figure, hey, they send out their invoices, they're getting paid, and they never really take a look at their financial statements. They don't really have a concept of COGS because they don't have a physical product. There's a lot of even KPIs they don't really have.
So I had a client once, actually came out of an incubator at Kennesaw State. And they had an event business where you could rent the big tents, you can rent the tablecloths, you can rent just about anything you would need for that day. And the founder of the business was a young guy and very smart, very passionate, couldn't keep his team intact. He just had a ton of turnover. And his solution to that was, I'm having trouble with my people here and I want to grow. So maybe I'm based in Atlanta. Let's open a Nashville location and a Birmingham location. I said, how dominant is your business in terms of the event business in Atlanta? Do you have 10% of the market? He laughed. He said, are you kidding me? I probably have 0.5%. And I said, okay, doesn't mean you have a bad business. It just means that there's a lot of total addressable market. But would you say that there's room for growth here? And he said, yes. And I said, if we helped you with your people problem, do you think it would be worth trying to capture more of that growth and it would be easier than trying to be in Birmingham and Nashville?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And he grew doing that kind of work. So what I try and do is not have people try to do too many things at one time because they just want to grow, especially if they have runway.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Think venture capital is only for MBAs? Think again. Today's most successful VC firms are hiring scientists and engineers who understand innovation from the inside out. The LinkedIn group, Venture Capital for Scientists and Engineers, delivers expert insights, job paths, and real stories of STEM professionals in investing. Join now and see how your experience becomes your edge.
I wasn't a born sales guy. I was more of an operations guy. And when we started our real estate firm, I had to learn all those other things. And the only way I was able to grow is to really I'm very organized, I'm very persistent, and I get stuff done. And so I earned my way by not outsmarting people, by being slick, by being more presentable than other people. It was just I earned people's trust. I was only as good as the trust.
And one of the things you mentioned earlier, a lot of the, like your clients now, may not necessarily be business people, but they're great at their craft. So, how do you help them that are not necessarily great at business develop that muscle?
Sure. Part of it is not just looking at financial growth, it's looking at what they want to do personally and professionally. So some people have young kids, so they don't want to work 80 hours a week. Some people professionally don't want to be managers, they want to be leaders, and they want to have their finger in doing the legal work, but they want to learn how to run the firm because they think that's where they can add the most value. So when that occurs, I kind of point to that as their North Star. If they're wanting to become leaders, they're going to have to do certain things. So part of what I do is I help them understand approaches where I can help educate them on what works, what experience I have, what they can try, how it would fit within them, what the risks and opportunities are. And then they go do it. And then again, mid-course is about making adjustments along the way. And so it's about making those adjustments. And so what they do is they learn and they try. I come from a family of educators. My mother was a teacher for 30 years. My sister's still a teacher in special education. I taught at Georgia State because I had never taught before. I was always on planes and was never reliable enough. And when I did, I taught for 4 years at Georgia State because I wanted to see if I could see if the teaching that I learned from my relatives and the teaching that I always did to try and help my clients and my employees learn and grow, if I could translate that to a younger generation and also learn from them in terms of what their wants and needs were. And so I view myself as a pretty good teacher, but not somebody who tells people what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And those skills definitely translate into being able to facilitate workshops and things like that.
I'm the facilitator. I'm not the decision maker. I don't drive anything. I pull it out of the people. The people basically are too busy or don't have the right facilitation to be able to focus on thinking about the business and what it could be and where it could go.
Yeah, that strategy part is, of course, it's part of it, but if they don't have the wherewithal or the resources or time, which time is a resource, but also staff to actually execute on some of those things, it just sits on your desk.
Yep.
One of the things you mentioned in your profile, though, is like how you help clients grow. I think one of the stats you quoted was like 40% in 6 months, like 180 days. So, what would you say is like one or two things you always find that unlocks that kind of growth?
They can't focus on what they need to focus on. They don't empower their people to solve their own problems because they help them solve it, and it takes up too much of their time. So I figure out what these low priority time things that are taking away from their day and and open up some time on their calendar to figure out how to focus on what it takes to really grow. And we look at their marketing and basically say there are two sides to your marketing. There's the online stuff and there's the offline stuff. Typically on the online stuff, they don't know what they're looking at. They're just hoping the phone rings and they have this marketing provider maybe. They know what search engine optimization stands for, but they don't know what's behind the curtain. They don't know about paid ads. They don't know how to establish the referral networks or what to ask for or how to approach it or how to plan for it in advance. And then they don't convert at a high enough rate. When I'm able to kind of look at those things, free up some of their time and be able to market and sell better and gain that momentum, it makes a huge difference for them.
I think so many business owners listening are realizing that it's not the market that's holding them back. It's their systems and how they lead and what they're missing as far as focus. So for anyone who maybe wants to learn more about your frameworks or possibly work with you, what's the best place to connect with you?
Sure. It's funny that you talked about the market. People say there's not enough business out there. The
Yeah.
way I look at it is there's plenty of business for everybody to be had. You just have to know how to go get it, and then how to make the sausage efficiently, and then how to manage your money. And money management is an important part. We really didn't touch on it, but managing those finances is important. People can best get a hold of me and check out my website, midcourseadvisors.com. And there's an opportunity to download information on all those different parts of a firm and how to optimize it. That I encourage you to get that practical white paper. And if you're interested in just having a chat with me, no obligation. I've sold a couple companies. I'm not obviously want to get paid for providing good value, but I'm a good salesman because I don't feel pressured to have to make the next sale. I want it to be a good fit. And so I'm happy to have a conversation, share resources, share ideas, just be of help. And there's an opportunity there's a connection to my Calendly to schedule a free consultation.
Perfect. So we'll link your website to the show notes for all of you that are listening. If you're in that rebuild mode, which is the theme of this season, and you're ready to scale, you want less chaos and more focus and clarity, then it sounds like you will be able to get some of those tools from his download and get a bit of a playbook. So, Andy, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Unpolished MBA podcast. To hear more episodes or to request to become a guest, please visit unpolishedmba.com.
Are you running a business that's doing okay, but you know it could be doing better with the right strategy behind it? At TPM Focus, we help organizations get unstuck. Whether you're launching something new, navigating disruption, or aligning your operations with your financial goals, we bring clarity and, most importantly, we execute. If you're tired of random acts and ready to get intentional about cash flow and growth, visit tpmfocus.com.